Julia, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for being on the Everything Saxophone podcast.
Hi, Donna. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So, people don't know this, but Julia is from TomPlay, and TomPlay is an interactive app. You know, you could have it on your desktop, you could have it on your mobile device. It's basically backing tracks on steroids. They have backing tracks, they have sheet music, all styles of music, all instruments, and the cool thing, different levels. You know, it's not just like advanced level, it's not just beginner intermediate level. It's a really, really cool app. So before we talk about TomPlay, I want people to get to know you, because you're a musician also. So can you give us a little background on yourself?
Yes. I'm Julia. I've been playing the alto saxophone for almost 25 years, and I've just recently started playing tenor as well. And I love playing tenor saxophone. It's a lot of fun. When I was like back in high school, I also played the baritone saxophone for a short while. I just love playing the saxophone, and I guess that's what kind of brought me to TomPlay about a year and a half ago. I saw this job post about TomPlay, and I was like, wow, this is exactly what kind of matches up my kind of my hobby and my kind of work background. So I was really fortunate to get on board with TomPlay, and so my role at TomPlay is to look after the customer support and also the marketing of the German-speaking markets, as well as international partnerships. So it's very varied. We are a lovely team full of hobby musicians and professional musicians, and it's a lot of fun.
This is interesting. So how long has TomPlay been in existence?
So about 10 years ago, Alexis and Thomas Steinman, their father and son, they founded TomPlay with the idea of having interactive sheet music. They basically invented interactive sheet music, which is to have a digitalized version of the sheet music, of the score, synchronized with the backing track, with the playback. Play along CDs have been around forever, but the whole I've had play along CDs. It's always a bit difficult when you're just starting to play a new piece to keep up with the play along CD, and to be able to. As a beginner, you just want to make sure you practice the piece in a very slow tempo. You can play it maybe in loops, you can do some annotations and really just do the same thing to the play along, to the audio track. And that hasn't been around, that has only been around for 10 years since the Steinmans, as I call them, they invented it. And it went step by step. It started with one piece of sheet music with the synchronized track, and then for just one instrument, which was the piano at the beginning. And then they gradually added different instruments, string instruments, wind instruments. And by now, the catalog has over 40,000 sheet music titles for over 25 different instruments.
Wow, holy cow, that's extensive. So what is their background with music? You said everybody's hobbyist musicians. So what did they play? And give a little background on them.
Yes. Thomas Steinman, the father, he plays 10 different instruments. He's so passionate about music. So I think he's tried every single instrument in the TomPlay catalog, but he's basically settled on 10, which he plays actively, which is huge. It blows my mind. I'm already busy playing kind of two different saxophones, and yes, he's very keen, like learning new instruments, taking lessons every single week. It's really great. And Alexis, he's been playing the piano for almost 20 years now.
Wow.
And so they have a musical background for sure, but they also have kind of the technical, business and legal backgrounds, like professionally. So this is how they've built an app, a music app, and brought it all and it really developed it over time. So it's like we're now, I think, in over 70 countries in the world. Wow. There are TomPlay users everywhere. And yes, it's really great to see how the community of musicians is growing and how TomPlay can help musicians enjoy their instruments even more.
So, so they do have a musical background. They have a business background. I'm curious though, okay, it's probably proprietary, I'm sure, but I think so. The main pain point, the reason why that they started this app was so that people could see the music in time, as opposed to like having a piece of sheet music just there looking at it, right? So how did they find, I don't know, how do I want to word this? How did they come up with the software to be able to track the music at the same time? And we're talking 10 years ago. So that was definitely revolutionary at the time.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, the version of TomPlay from kind of 10 years ago was, I haven't seen it because I've only been part of the team for the last year and a half. But from what I've seen, it was like a very kind of basic version of what we have today. And we can jump on and have a quick look at what the app looks like and what it can do in a minute. So it's progressed over time. So I think the TomPlay app, as like a smartphone and tablet and PC app, has only been around for about three years. So prior to that, it was mainly in the browser, and so now it's on all platforms, as you initially said in the beginning of the conversation. So it's a process. It evolves over time, and we're just. I think I can declare this here as a little secret. So we're just about to launch our like version 4.0 of the TomPlay app. So that's going to happen very soon. And it's going to have some kind of amazing new features in it. You said earlier that there's a recording feature. So currently there's sound recording, but the new version of TomPlay will also have the video recording, that you can record the audio and video of yourself playing with the backing track and the sheet music, and you can share it with your friends and family. It's going to be amazing. So you can have your whole performance done by the click of a button, and it's going to look very nice. Yeah.
That is gold. That is absolutely gold. So, since we're on this topic of new stuff that's coming up, and then we're going to dive and we're going to look into the app. So version 4.0, that's the big thing. That's the big, change with TomPlay then.
Yeah, that's a big change for the next few months. And I mean, we always have like app updates and new features and new instruments, and our catalog, our score catalog, there's 200 new pieces every single week that we publish. So, and we always publish backing tracks, playbacks, recorded by professional musicians. So it's never artificial, it's never MIDI. It's always like real handmade music that we publish along with the score.
Wow, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that you use real musicians to record these tracks. That is a lot of work when you think about it. And you're getting 200. You're uploading 200 tracks per week. TomPlay has really evolved from a 2-person operation. How many people are working for TomPlay now?
So permanently, there's about 40 people in the team, plus all of the musicians, because we work with over 100 musicians in different recording studios all over the world. Wow. So I would say around 150 people are involved in TomPlay.
Okay. Wow. I'm curious about this. How did you guys do the recordings during the pandemic?
Yes, that was tough because we wanted to keep our musicians like as safe as possible. And so we were fortunate that a lot of the musicians on our team, they have a home studio, and they were able to record their tracks from home. And so if we have a band recording, everybody just recorded their part from their home studio. And then we in post-production, we made sure that all of the separate tracks would be kind of synchronized together. But yeah, we tried as much as possible not to bring lots of people into a studio during that time.
That must have added a ton of time though, because, I know what that's like, adding my track to something, and then there's so much more production work. I would tend to think that probably really took a lot of time. Whereas if you had people in a room, you could, get everybody recorded at once. I'm curious, we're coming out of the pandemic right now. It's early first quarter 2022. But I'm wondering if this pandemic, adaptation, I'm wondering if you guys are going to continue that, or are you having people coming back into the studios and doing the recordings again?
We actually found that there's also some benefits in having everyone just record their part separately, because during the pandemic we actually came out with our bands and ensembles section, which is a sheet music catalog for bands and ensembles, and you can select each single instrument of the band individually and mute it. So for example, if you have a saxophone player, a bass player, a pianist, and a drummer, you can open up the TomPlay sheet music and you can select the backing track for each individual instrument, and you can mute it or play it or change the volume, which wasn't possible previously. Previously, it was kind of the solo instrument and the backing track as two tracks. But now we have the capability to have up to, 10 or even 20 different tracks. So even for large ensembles and orchestras, it's possible for everyone to practice their part at home, or in smaller groups, in sections. And so the capability is there, and it was kind of born during the pandemic because we had the need to really create those separate tracks.
Wow, I didn't even know that. That is a great benefit that I think probably a lot of people really didn't know unless they really tinkered, and saw, oh my gosh, I see all these tracks and I could just, adjust this here and there and all that kind of thing. That's awesome. All right, well, you know what? We've danced around this. So if you want to share your screen, for those of you that are listening on the podcast, of course, please continue to listen, but definitely you'll want to check out the video for this. And the video, along with, the information about TomPlay, is going to be on saxophonepodcast.com for this particular episode. It's also going to be on TomPlay's website, and we'll put all that information in the description in the show notes. So now we're looking at Julia's screen, and she's showing the TomPlay app on her Mac.
Yes, that's right. So so this is the start screen of the TomPlay app, and I'll just show you a very quick example of what a TomPlay score looks like. So the all-time favorite, Careless Whisper.
Most requested.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm able to rate it here. Of course, I'll give it 5 stars. And so as mentioned just a minute ago, here I will have the ability to choose the audio track. So currently you see the accompaniment and the alto saxophone and the backing vocalist on, and the lead voice, the lead melody singing, is off, and the click, the metronome click, is also off. I'll just quickly show you what that would look like when I just play that interactive score and what that would sound like.
Okay.
So everyone's in a good mood now. So it always brings me in a good mood.
It's a great song. It's a great song.
It is. So now, when I practice this song with my alto saxophone, I usually kind of listen to the whole thing just to kind of get an idea of the melody, especially if it's a song I've never played before. Good. And then I might reduce the tempo a bit, and that's one of the kind of great features about TomPlay, that not only me playing is going to be slower, the whole backing track can slow down, and you can see here it can extensively slow down. So if you want to just play 1 or 2 bars in a loop, just in a very kind of slow practice tempo, you can absolutely do that. So the original tempo is 76. So I would probably choose a practice tempo at around 60-ish. And then I would just see if I can keep up. So that's a much better tempo for me to just get practicing. So I guess as a next step, like just my practice routine. Obviously, everyone is a bit different, but I would just then try to kind of play along in that slower tempo and just keep a mental note just of the kind of tricky parts. I might even take my annotation feature here and just give that a name, and then I would start like drawing, because I usually use TomPlay on my iPad, and I have this little iPad pencil, and then I could just see, okay, where are the kind of the tricky parts? So like just an example, I could just circle that here, or if I don't want an ugly circle, I could erase that again and use something like a highlight tool, and just highlight a section. Or what my saxophone teacher always used to do, he used to draw a little kind of pair of glasses.
Oh, yeah.
And just to, I mean, this looks a bit ugly now because I'm doing it with my mouse. It's nicer when I do it with my kind of pencil, but just to give you an idea, so I can use this score just as I would use a paper score, and I can do all of my drawings and everything and my annotations just as I need it. And then whilst practicing it, I would go back and I would set certain loops. So for example, if I identify those two bars as being quite tricky and I just don't have them in my fingers yet, I would just play those two bars in a like slow practice tempo in a loop until I'm kind of comfortable playing them. And I would just go on and on and on through the whole score. The cool thing is that the pages turn automatically when I play the score. So I don't need to worry about page turning and all of that. That's all taken care of.
That's
and then
gold.
Once I'm
that's gold. And actually, let me ask you something. So with the loops, when you do that, if you could just show a sample, because people may not realize too, like when you do the loop, it's not like you're playing these two measures and then you automatically go back, right away. I think the click happens again, or you have like a measure in between or something like that, right? If you want to just show that.
Oh, yes. Okay. So yes, the click you heard at the beginning, the kind of the 4 clicks, that's actually something that's optional. So up here in the settings, I can set the count of duration. So that's currently set to 1 bar. But if I set that to 0, there's not going to be a click. So we wouldn't hear anything. So that's especially useful when we practice in loops, because we might just want to just loop it without having to hold off between every loop. And then just to give you an idea on what that sounds like. So yeah, I can really just keep on playing and playing until it's like I'm super, super comfortable playing those tricky parts. And then once I'm kind of done practicing along to that saxophone track, I would then mute the alto saxophone part, because I mean this is going to be like my goal is to practice that piece so well that I can then just have the band as a backing track and me being the soloist, me being the solo saxophonist. And so I'll just show you what that then looks or sounds like. So it's just a very nice band backing, and I would just be playing my part to it. So so that's the whole kind of that's the idea of TomPlay. We have some other kind of cool features in here, like the visual saxophone, which is also very, very useful.
Oh, got it.
So, yeah, so I usually use the visual saxophone. So for example, if I'm not exactly sure on some of the high notes on how I should handle those. I mean, here we don't have the extreme high notes, but just as an example, like the C sharp here, I would just be able to check on any single note. Okay, what's the fingering? How do I do it? That would even be possible whilst playing the score, but then it looks a bit like a karaoke version.
Right. No, I got you. Yeah. This is great, though. Actually, I knew about this, but it didn't even occur to me to just like tap on a note, click on a note, and then you see the fingering on the bottom there. That's great.
Yeah, so I only use that to check the fingering. Otherwise, if I just keep it, you see it just keeps flashing.
Right. Too
Yeah,
fast.
so I would recommend it. Yeah, it's too fast, but yeah, for checking individual fingerings, it's so good because I don't need to leave the app to look at my fingering chart. It's just all in here, and it really helps. And then once I'm good, I'll just I'll just use the score. I can also print the score with all of the annotations in it. That's helpful for like people who like to have some paper, or when you're playing in a band and you just want to kind of print off your band members' sheet music and play together. That's also possible. So we tried to kind of cater for all sorts of different situations to make sure that all musicians can just use this as a practice tool and like do anything with it that they would usually do with like a paper score as well.
So could people, some people, well, including myself, I do a lot of solo gigs, right? So, solo sax with backing tracks. So people can use this if they want to, play gigs and stuff. This could be their backing tracks, and, they just click the button and they also have the music involved as well.
Yeah, that's right. So especially, I mean, we get asked a lot by people who would like to just record for kind of practice purposes and then maybe publish it on YouTube. So that's absolutely possible. So you can publish your TomPlay recordings on YouTube. It would just be great if you just do a little shout out to TomPlay so that people know like where the backing track is from and what this technology is. So that's cool. And if it's a commercial gig, then musicians usually get in touch with us, and then we just need to make sure that everything from a kind of legal perspective is all good. But I guess for kind of home usage and for kind of private gigs, you can absolutely use it. And like, for example, when people play at a wedding, so we've had quite a lot of requests. So that's lovely. I mean, yeah.
Okay, great. So, we covered, in terms of performance and stuff like that. You mentioned that if people want to record themselves playing on YouTube, they can do that. Two things. So, version 4.0, like if you show the recording feature right now, it's just going to be, I think, just recording the audio. But version 4.0, they'll be able to record themselves with video. And will that video be like, for example, if we're on Zoom, you could just record yourself on the screen, or is that video going to be, showing the music as well? Like, do you know what that's going to look like?
Yeah, so our developers are working really, really hard on that feature at the moment so that it shows both the sheet music on screen plus yourself as a musician. So I actually haven't seen the final version yet because it's still currently in the making, but that's the idea, so that it's going to be kind of the whole performance. You can follow the sheet music with a pink cursor. You can see yourself playing. You can upload it on social media, share it with your friends. So it's going to be a full kind of editing suite in one click.
Great. And then, as you alluded to before, too, you said it. When this happens and people use this, they could use hashtag TomPlay. So this way you'll know that they did that. It'll give you guys credit and all that kind of stuff. Wherever they're sharing this, whether it's on YouTube or even, Instagram or Facebook or, any other, who knows what's going to come out in 4 months from now or 3 months from now, in terms of social media and stuff like that. TikTok, expanded TikTok or whatever. So, so this is cool. And a couple more questions while we're on this screen. What if someone wanted to change the key? Could they change the key within this alto sax score, or do they have to, download for a different instrument?
Yes, I'll show you that in a second. So the short answer is we have that feature for some instruments, not for all of them yet. So we introduced this very carefully because we know that with automated transposition, there's always the risk of having some just odd looking kind of double flats, double sharps, and so on. So we were just very mindful that we want to present the best user experience possible to our musicians. So that's why what we've done is for guitar. We introduced this feature because with accompaniment guitar, there's always like people always want to sing along, and so we just made sure that they have this automatic transposition feature to be able to match their voice. And we have that in our singer catalog and choir catalog. So the singer and like guitar scores have this feature. For saxophone, I can just quickly show you if I go back to the home screen of the TomPlay app. Our score catalog, you will find like all of the 40,000 different scores in the shop. And if I change myself here you see all of the instruments we have. So if I go to saxophone, I can choose between soprano, alto, and tenor saxophone. So we usually produce all of the new titles for all of the 3 saxophones in different difficulty levels. And so if I want to play Careless Whisper on my tenor saxophone now, I could just choose tenor, put Careless in here, and then you immediately see, okay, here are the different difficulty levels, all for tenor saxophone. So we have very easy, intermediate, advanced, and so this is for saxophone the way we do it right now, that you can basically just choose the saxophone you play and you will always have the right key. You don't have to transpose anything because it's already in the correct key.
Okay, got it. All right, so I have a couple of questions with regard to that. So what's really cool on the screen here, it's not just easy, intermediate, and advanced. There's also very easy. There's easy/intermediate. There's easy level. There's advanced level. There's intermediate. The one that we saw, that was the advanced level that you had before?
Yeah. That was the advanced level. Okay,
cool. So one question that I would have, and my Barry sax players are upset right now, but are there any plans for adding Barry sax to the mix?
Yes, there are. So we don't have, like, I think we have somewhere kind of, there wasn't a lot of requests, but yeah, I fully understand. I would be a bit upset too. But what I've done for myself is when I play the Barry saxophone, I use alto saxophone scores. It doesn't always like perfectly match, but because the key is the same, it's like both is E flat instruments, it works tonality wise. And so this is how I've been kind of helping myself, and which works for kind of most cases. But in any case, if you're a baritone saxophonist and the alto sax score just doesn't work for you, I mean, our customer support team is great, and our music team is like even greater, and they are super fast in just taking a score and making a few adjustments and then republishing it for like a certain like use case. So if that's the case, I think it takes 1 or 2 days for our team to turn this around, to make some changes, to change the tonality. So you can always just send us an email. And that's a service we offer for all of our subscribers. So it's free. You can just send us an email, and if there's something missing in our catalog, just let us know, and we'll do our very, very best to publish it as quickly as possible.
Wow, that's awesome. So can you tell me what, and we'll put this in the description also, but what is the email?
So there's several ones. I think it's service@tomplay.com.
Got it. Okay. All right.
But there's also a contact form on our website. So if you go to tomplay.com/contact, that's the safest way.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, great. And again, I'm going to put these links definitely in the show notes. Now, I'm also curious too. So, these are live musicians playing this. So that means that the saxophonist that you hired, and it could be one person that, is playing alto and and also the tenor parts as well. And the soprano parts, I guess, too. So they're also doing it at all these different levels then. They're also playing all these different levels. I'm curious, when it comes to, this is my own curiosity actually, the music's going to look different. Like can you open up like the easy level?
Yeah.
Tenor sax.
Yeah, so this is what the easy level looks like.
Got it. Okay, cool. So does TomPlay determine the easy, like on your end, not the artist. On your end, you guys determine, like very easy, and you know what I'm saying? Like you write it out. Got it. Okay.
Yes. So we're working with like music teachers and specialists and professional musicians to also write our arrangements, and we have a certain guideline. So for example, if I show you what the very easy level looks like, we try to make sure that, for example, the very easy level has like no flat or sharp, like or only one. So that's the maximum. So you can only have one flat or sharp, and the range is also limited. So we make sure it doesn't go too high. For example, it doesn't go above a high B flat or like a high C. I think that's the maximum for the very easy level. So it doesn't go like beyond that. So we have some certain guidelines that we always follow to make sure that those difficulty levels are always consistent across the different pieces.
Okay, and speaking of that, so in terms of the difficulty levels, then, like this is a different key than it would normally be played in. So then the keys would change in this case.
Yes, the keys will change exactly in the backing track, and we do that deliberately because we know if we look at the advanced level tenor. So I mean, it's just if I download that, it's going to be like unplayable for a beginner. So
because it starts on altissimo F sharp. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really high, and so. Yeah, so we need to change the key in order to make it playable also for beginners. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's what I was kind of assuming with that. Okay, let me just take a look over here. All right, and so the good thing though, when you sign up for TomPlay, you're not limited by your instrument, right? So you could, let's say I play saxophone, guitar, trumpet. I could download all those types of tracks for me. I see Lee Morgan over here, Ciora, intermediate level, but that's tenor sax. But if I wanted to download trumpet tracks, I could do that as well. I'm not limited by instrument.
Absolutely. So with our TomPlay subscription model, you have just access to everything. So the whole catalog, so all of the instruments that you see here, because most people, they have one main instrument, but they might play some other instruments as well. So so most people, for example, like most saxophonists have a little bit of knowledge about piano, and they might want to just try out, or even like try a completely new instrument, which is super easy to do. And most people have a recorder at home, for example. So I mean, sometimes I just try out new things, which is great because it's just all available with one TomPlay access. And yes, it's there's unlimited downloads, so only the number of printings are limited, but we noticed that most people don't even max out their printings because it's so handy to have the digital score being synchronized with the music. You don't have to worry about turning the pages and like dealing with lots of paper. So I just use my iPad on the music stand. I have an external speaker system with Bluetooth, and then I just play the digital score. And most people do it that way. So at the beginning, it might be a bit of a change and a step out of your comfort zone because it's something new. But then you probably print in the first week. You probably print the most, and then after that, you get so used to this new way of handling sheet music, and that most people don't really print beyond the first week.
Yeah, and what's cool too, because it's mobile, right? So you have a lot of advantages here, especially if you use an iPad or a tablet, because number one, if you use an iPad or a tablet, you don't have to worry about getting a stand light. Number two, you don't have to worry about getting a stand. You could just get, like I use Peak Music Stand's e-mobile device to hold my tablet onto like a mic stand. So I don't have to worry about a stand light. I don't have to worry about getting a page turner, right? A foot pedal page turner. So that knocks off two things that I don't need to buy when I do this. And the awesome thing, like, I remember back in the day, 20 years ago, having a huge physical book of all of my printed out, arrangements that I did in Finale that weighed, and I used to break the music stands because the book was so heavy. But now you've got, thousands and thousands of arrangements just within this one app. So it lightens the load, with that as well. There's so many advantages there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. And you can, at the moment I show this on my Mac, but it's super easy to also synchronize it. So all of the annotations and everything I've downloaded on my Mac TomPlay app, I just need to push one button in my iPad TomPlay app, and all of these downloads and annotations will be immediately synchronized. So it's really handy. It's really good. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so now, again, we're, looking at the video here. I'm looking on this main screen where it says choose your instrument, and on the bottom it says music theory, and then it says, can we also go to the bands and ensembles for a second there? I just want to see.
Yes, of course, yeah.
If people can see this.
Yeah, as mentioned just earlier, we're just building the catalog for the bands and ensemble section. So there's currently, there's a variety of pieces in here already. As you can see, like classical as well as like film music and jazz pieces. But the catalog is going to grow. We're trying every week. We're growing the catalog. So what you can do, you can, for example, go in the browse section. And this is the cool part about bands and ensembles. You can pick the instrument that you play. So, for example, alto saxophone, and it will show you which band arrangements are already there. Bear with us. I know it looks like there's not much in it, but every week we're adding to it. And the cool thing is that if we, for example, take this piece here, Black Orpheus, you will see that there are like all of the different tracks, all of the different scores are in here. So the bass score, you can download that and give it to the bassist. The drummer will have their score. And we'll have a conductor part with all of the individual parts and the tutti. So if I download that, it just takes a little moment because it's quite a big file because all of these tracks are included, but it will create a separate folder here on my screen. Here you see that, and here we see, okay, we have everything in here. We have the the solo instrument in all different levels. Then we have the bass in different levels, the clarinet in different levels, drums, flute, and this is great also for teachers who might have an ensemble or a band with students at different levels, at different skill levels. So you can, for example, have a flutist, like very easy level, someone playing guitar at an intermediate level. So as a teacher, you don't have to do like arrangements and changes to the arrangements anymore. It's all in here, plus the conductor score as well. So I think that's quite beautiful, actually.
Oh, it's incredible. Now, the only thing to watch out for is that if you do have somebody that's a very easy level, and you have others at the more advanced levels, we just got to make sure that the keys are the same, right? Or in this case, it would be.
Yes, in this case, it would be.
Got it.
So let me just show you. So I'm just, so this is, I can show you the tutti score.
Okay.
Of what that will look like, for example. So, this is arranged as a quartet. So in this case, it's the alto saxophone playing the solo line. Then we have the drum score, the piano, and the bass. And this is for the conductor. So if you, for example, Donna, if you had an ensemble with a saxophonist and a band, you could use that just ready from TomPlay to be conducting your student band, for example.
Yeah, and what's great about this too is we're looking at the conductor score of this. For people that are also curious about what scores look like, or what does a drum part look like? If you're a saxophone player and you've always been curious about drum parts and stuff, and maybe you do want to get into arranging or composition, now you could see what drum parts look like, and you could hear it. You could even isolate it and hear it. So this way you could hear what these parts sound like. And here's another thing too, and as more scores get added to this and whatnot, whether you're using this ensemble part or if you're using, the regular scores for your instrument, you probably could I'm trying to remember if you could isolate drums or, isolate certain instruments. You could certainly take them out for sure. But, a lot of times people can't hear like the bass, or they can't hear certain, certain instruments. So you could mix, in a sense, you could make those instruments at least louder, or you can make them louder or take them out.
Exactly. This is the beauty of this bands and ensemble scores, where we have separate tracks for each single instrument. So exactly what you just said. So the bass we could make the loudest, and then the drums, for example, and the piano we could take down a little bit, and then the alto saxophone we can mute, because like if I'm, for example, the alto saxophonist, I would then practice this just with a muted alto saxophone. But you can also isolate. So if you just want to listen to the drums, for example, you would just select the drums and then be able to just listen to the drum score.
That's awesome.
Just to give you an idea what the whole thing sounds like. So I'll just put everything on again, just to give you an idea.
That's cool. And I'm glad you showed that too, because people got a chance to see the page turn and how seamless it looks. It's smooth. And what's great about this too, I for a lot of solo gigs that I do current like pop music and stuff, where you have to go, there's codas, there's DS, there's DCs, all this kind of thing, and you're scurrying back. If you're reading the parts, you're scurrying back to the first page, you're going back 5 pages, up 6 pages and stuff like that. Having something like this do it automatically for you, it lessens the chances of clicking the wrong button on your page turn device and shutting off the backing track totally. That's happened. So it really definitely is seamless. This is really great. This is one thing that I wasn't aware of. What I'm curious about too with the ensembles. Okay. I'm also thinking putting on my old time band director hat, because I used to be a band director in New York for many years. There's a lot of I don't know if you guys are thinking about in the future of having talks with like major method books, like, boy, wouldn't it be great if the Rubank series was on here, because there are no recordings, hint, hint, but you have stuff like Essential Elements or Standard of Excellence and stuff like that. I don't know. And, maybe this is not going to happen for you, but having like method books up into TomPlay where kids can, yes, they have access to, with some of these method books, to hear the backing tracks and all that kind of thing. But I'm just curious if that would be something that you all are going to be doing, or if not method books, like band arrangements, very popular band arrangements for, elementary school bands, high school bands and stuff like that. I don't know if that's something that you all have thought about.
Yes, it's something that's like on our production schedule, but when we haven't quite decided yet which band arrangements we should pick. So that might be something for your listeners to help us with, because we always love to get some requests and some ideas on what are the most popular band pieces, for example, because it makes our lives like so much easier if we exactly know what you guys want to play, then we can produce exactly that. So I guess that would help us a lot if we could get some requests for band pieces.
Yeah, you know what, too, and I'm just going to make the suggestion as well. You all should definitely reach out to like music education associations and stuff like that, to let them know, because they will give you, what they are currently using. What are the, what's the word I'm trying to look for? The band pieces that are just, always played by all bands. There's certain composers that James Swearington, I think it is, there's other composers I can't think off the top of my head, but that people always use. Yeah, like Holst. Right. But those are famous names. I'm talking about like modern composers. Michael Sweeney, for example, does a lot of, beginner to up to intermediate level, and maybe even more advanced, concert band type of, like I'm talking concert bands and, you know, like even wind ensemble, stuff like that. Because one thing that, you know, I always tell my students it's so important, and you said it right from the very beginning, when you're working on a new piece, the first thing you do is you listen to it. Well, a lot of kids in schools don't do that. But if they had access to something where they could just listen to it and actually they could follow along with that cursor, that's going to help them. You know, in schools, they focus on reading, and I'm going to be asking another question in a minute. But they really, you know, they focus on reading more than, you know, learning by ear. But because again, it's time constraints and, you know, and the pressures they have on them from administration. But having something like this will actually help the kids to read because they can see where they're at. You know, people tend to get lost when they're in like a, you know, elementary band or middle school band or something like that. Having this would definitely help them, and they'd hear it and they'd see it. I think that's really, really great. And that would be a great direction. And just reaching out to music education associations. I'm not sure how that works in Europe. You know, like we have the NAFME, which is National Association for Music Education, and each state has its own music education association. I'm not sure if each country or each province would have their own music education association in Europe, but it's just a thought.
Yeah, it's great. It's absolutely great. And I think this is just the beginning and we're just getting started. And I think there's so much more for bands and ensembles that we are going to be publishing in the next months and years to come. So yes, this is, I'm very excited about the band stuff that we're launching because it's it's great. I mean, I was also in a concert band when I was at high school, and I had exactly the same. It's when you play your individual part and you play kind of the, I don't know, second or third alto saxophone, and you like, it's just when you practice at home, it gets just really boring to just play this one part and you don't know what the whole thing will sound like. So being able to have the rest of the band just playing in your living room, and it's just so much more fun and so much more effective to practice.
Yeah, for sure. Now, could you go back to the screen that I think showed? Well, here's the next question. So one of the reasons why I personally did not get TomPlay in the very beginning was because when I teach my students, I want to absolutely start teaching them to play by ear. Music is oral, so we hear it and we have to develop our ears. And, you know, like I said before, and also being a band director, I know these pressures where people had, teachers are forced to have their students read right away because, you know, the administration is like, no, they have to read. And so, you know, they're really strapped for time. And the problem is when students are overwhelmed with reading and playing at the same time, a lot of them quit because it's too much, you know, and they're not understanding what they're seeing on the page. It's just black dots, as opposed to, you know, if you learn, you know, if you have a solid foundation of learning things by ear first, and then you see what's on the page, then it makes sense. So the great thing is that you do have something, and we're looking at the screen right now in the video. It says Tom Improv, play by ear, improvise and create your own arrangement. I thought that was brilliant. Can you talk about this part?
Yes, of course. So yes, we only introduced that about a year ago, that we have both. We launch the TomPlay arrangement, which is the score with the music notes, and we also have the Tom Improv version of the score. And I'm just going to jump into one of those, and I'll show you what that looks like. I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see more of the score. So it's, I mean, you will still see, and I think this is a good example. I'll just go a little bit so that you can see that properly. So here is a solo, like an improvised solo, and it will show you all of the different chords. Plus, I mean, that's the hardest part for me when I improvise, because I don't have the circle of fifth always fully memorized, and I find it really hard because I learned, like, I had classical saxophone. I'm good at reading sheet music. I'm not so good at memorizing all of the chords. So that really helps me to see the chord symbol, the different notes that are included in that chord. to be able to just know, okay, I'm here now. The cursor will help me to see where I'm at, because this is also difficult when you improvise. Sometimes I lose track of, okay, is this now 8 bars or 7, or where am I? Where does the sequence stop? So yeah, this really helps me to just get better at improvising and just get my head around what am I actually doing here.
Yeah, and you know what's great with this too? Can you go back one screen to where the solo starts?
Yeah.
And can you put the cursor so we can hear like a little bit of the melody and then going into the solo section so people can hear what it sounds like?
Yeah.
And here's the improv part.
So this was now actually with the alto saxophone muted, so we only heard the backing track. So let me just show you what like the full the full sound would sound like.
Got it. Okay, and you know, I'm going to have a question here too. So, and first of all, that was a really nice solo. So now, you know, we're looking at the video right now, and what we're seeing though are the chords. And what's cool, you also have the letter names within the notes in the chords. And when you're getting to some tricky chords like F sharp, you have to finish 7th. Same thing as minor 7 flat 5, B7 flat 9. You know, you're showing the full chords here. So for people that don't have as much experience spelling chords, you've got that. But we heard a really cool alto sax solo. So people are going to say, well, wait a minute. Can I see do you have the transcription of that solo?
Yes, let me just check. So the solo starts from bar 34 in this piece. So if we go back to the TomPlay arrangement where we kind of have it all kind of written out and there's no improv, and if we go to the same bar, there you go. 34, then we see it. And let me just like double check if that's exactly what we just heard.
Yeah, it is. I can see it.
It is. Okay, you can already see that. Yeah, it's the same solo. So yes, it's all here. So if you just want to start like practicing it, like by having it all written out, it's here. It's all there for you.
But it's also, what's really good too is 2 things, you know, and what I would recommend for people is that, you know, listen to the solo. So the way we listen to it is we enabled the alto sax track and listen to it a bunch of times. If you like the solo, try to learn it by ear first, try to transcribe it by ear, and then use the written arrangement and check yourself and see what you're doing and this can develop your ears. And then this will also help you to check to make sure that you've got the right notes with the right rhythms as well. I think this is fantastic. And now this part, so all this stuff though, like if they're on their main screen, my scores and stuff like that, let's see, how do I want to word this? Is the Tom Improv, it's not, is it for every single score that you have in your collection? I don't think so, right? I think it's for a few.
Yes, so it's so we try to include it on all of the like rock, pop, jazz scores that we publish. So everything that we like publish, like the new stuff that we publish every week. So whenever it fits, obviously it doesn't fit for classical pieces, but when it's jazz, you can be sure there will be Tom Improv. Some of the rock stuff as well, where you have some kind of nice rock and pop solos that have some Tom Improv as well. For some of like the older publishings that we have, that have been like scores that have been published 2, 3, 4 years ago, we didn't invent Tom Improv by that time, but our music team, as I said, they're quite quick in making those additions. So if you're missing any Tom Improv in any of the scores, then just drop us a note and we will try to kind of add a Tom Improv version of the score as soon as possible.
That's incredible. And I have to say this too. So like we're looking on the screen here, Black Orpheus, and again, all the different levels, and there's even more. There's actually upper advanced level, was crazy. But here's the thing though. What we looked at was probably like an advanced level or something like that.
Yes, exactly.
If you go to the intermediate level, if you can click on that, and then now this is in the quartet version, but here's the thing though, under Tom Improv, if we go under that and then we look at this is the improv part, right? You've got the melody, the chords, I still see a B7 flat 9. That's all right. That's cool, but still you're spelling it out. So you could have a little bit more, leeway, I would say, because you're spelling these chords out. But if we were to look at the written solo, the solo, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be different because it's going to be geared towards this, this level over here.
Yeah, it's easier. It's easier to play.
Yeah. Can you go back to measure 34 for a second? Let me just see. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I could definitely see it right there. Got it. Yep. Okay. This is actually great because this is also, and again, if you're a student, student, whatever, if you're a composer, if you're someone who's very interested in arranging and stuff like that, this also gives you some great ideas as well. But you could also see like the seeds of the solo here, the main points that, the main goal notes this person is trying to hit. I think that's also great, for your learning as well. You're hearing it, you're hearing the differences, that kind of thing. I think this is fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, even for beginners, because I mean, we always try to kind of publish those scores in at least 4 or 5 different versions. So we even have a version for beginners in here. So easy, intermediate. This is probably here the easiest one. So we just want to make sure that everyone can play along to a TomPlay score, even if you've only just been playing the saxophone for a few months. It should be, it's all there for you. And I've heard that a lot of people take it almost as a little challenge. They start on a very easy, and then they work their way up gradually to the more advanced levels of the scores, which is great. It gives you this like a great sense of achievement to know, okay, I've started here at very easy and I'm now already at intermediate or advanced. So it's good. It's a good way of making progress.
It's motivational. It's definitely
it's very
motivating for sure. And do me a favor. Can you go back to like your main My Scores, like where you had Careless Whisper? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And so if like let's say you opened up Careless Whisper for yourself or alto saxophone, I just want to make sure people can see. So, all right. So we've got this over here, but could they, is there, and again, this may be an old score, is there like an improv, a Tom improv for this particular track?
I don't think we have it because we've had Careless Whispers on the catalog for a long time. But I think the easiest way to check is actually when you go to the shop and you select your saxophone, for example, alto, and you go on the new section of the catalog, because here you have everything we've released in the last weeks and months. And so the likelihood, I mean, it's almost 100% of those scores showing here, apart from the classical ones, they will have the Tom Improv. So if you're particularly looking for Tom Improv scores, the safest way is to look at the newer releases.
Yeah, wow. There's so many things here too. This is really incredible. So are there any other features, you let the cat out of the bag when you told us about TomPlay 4.0, which is great because, people, that was going to definitely be a question of mine. So we're going to be having that new recording feature, which is going to be amazing. Are there any other features that we did not hit, that we did not see so far? We hit upon a lot.
Yes, we talked about a lot. Maybe one thing we didn't talk about, if you're in the TomPlay catalog and you go to the browse section, this might be like helping you, because I mean, a catalog with 40,000 different scores, that's a lot to digest. And I guess the way I kind of find my way around the catalog is I, for example, look at the style of music. So we've set the catalog to alto saxophone, and I'm particularly interested in playing, for example, some jazz music. So I would filter on jazz, and then I like to give myself a little challenge. I would, for example, set it on advanced level. And then I can even set what type of arrangement I want. So I really love the like saxophone with orchestra or band accompaniment. So I can just filter all of those. And so now I have it, like I have everything that I need just in front of me. And it gives me just a very good selection. You see all of kind of the Brubecks are here, the Frank Sinatra, John Coltrane, Glenn Miller. So it's like if I just want to have a playlist of like very popular jazz music, I could just pick and download all of the ones that like interest me from here. And then what I can also do is I can create a folder on my home screen and call it kind of jazz standards or something like that. And then I can put all of the kind of jazz scores that I've just downloaded into that folder. And it will even let me put a playlist mode on. So if I'm playing a gig or like if I just want to have like a little private concert, I have these kind of 5 or 10 or 20 different titles in here, put it on playlist, and I don't even have to kind of click anything in the meantime. It just plays one piece after the other. And it feels like a real concert.
You just actually answered my question, because I was just about to ask you, is there a way to create a playlist, in here? Because it would be really hard when you think about it. Oh, wait, hold on. I got to call out the next score. Hold on. But here, that's great. And you even had like an autoplay button.
So I'm just going to play. So actually, I'm just going to add some music. So you see what this actually looks like. I'm just going to add like all of my saxophone stuff to here. So finish. So just that we see some some content here. And absolutely, we have the playlist mode, and we can have the autoplay so that it just kind of keeps playing one after the other.
If you didn't put autoplay mode on, then how would, because sometimes you want to talk in between, songs and stuff like that. So how, can you show it, like, how would that work? You're done with like the Bobby McFerrin tune, right? And then does it automatically go to the Careless Whisper, but it doesn't play? You just have to click a play button?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. So the playlist mode, you will still need to push the play button. If you don't want to push anything at all and you just want the thing to kind of play and without any talking in between, you put it on autoplay and it just does everything automatically. You just need to play along.
That's great. And the thing I'm thinking about too, like, you put the songs in playlist mode, and, if you're using this for a gig, you have your settings, make sure that the saxophone is muted. You've got your mixture parts, whatever, so that if you need something a little louder, you can do that. And then you're good to go. And actually, you could put whole sets in here. And, if you're doing like three different sets, you could even create 3 different folders, right? And one set, one folder per set. I think that's fantastic. That's really good.
Thank you. Yeah, it's actually something we launched only a few months ago, and the autoplay mode is something that we launched very recently. And all of these features, they've been requested by TomPlay users, because all of these things they come out of like practicing with the tools, and then our users, they're great. They just come back with all sorts of great suggestions, and then we keep a big list of all of the suggestions, and every month our team prioritizes which are kind of the most requested features, and then they build these features. So if there's anything you or your listeners are missing in terms of features, you could just let us know. I mean, just bear with us, because we get a lot of requests, but we try to make sure that we get to all of them eventually. But yeah, we focus on the ones that we keep hearing, and the autoplay mode was something that was requested a lot over the last few months. So that's why we built the autoplay function in the folders.
And as you mentioned before, you're in over 70 countries. You have thousands, maybe tens of thousands of users, right?
Yeah, there's
All over the
actually
world.
1 million,
Oh my God.
people who, yeah, who who have kind of downloaded the TomPlay app and who are playing with TomPlay. And yes, I mean it's a large user base, and you can imagine how many requests there are. So our customer support team, they do a great job, like getting back to everyone within 24 hours. We even on the weekends, we have weekend cover. So if someone's playing a gig and there's like a last minute question or a last minute issue, our customer support is there. Like we have a live chat on the website. We are there on email. You can even call us. We try to be like super responsive, because we know that sometimes those things are urgent, especially when you have a gig lined up and you just have that one final question.
That's great, and I'm so glad you mentioned about customer support. I didn't even think about those kinds of those kinds of issues that can absolutely happen, for sure. Now, right now, we're looking at the actual app on Julia's screen. This is not in a browser. This is an app. So, can you go to the TomPlay website? And if someone who doesn't have TomPlay and they're really interested in in this app and purchasing this app, what do they do? What are the steps here? And I understand we also, have a special limited time promotion.
Yes, that's right. So the promotion is going to come up on our website in a very short time. And the best way to check is when you go to tomplay.com. Then you will see, usually when we're on a promotion, there's a countdown countdown timer, and it will tell you exactly how long you have for the promotion. But yeah, Donna, you also have a special code for your listeners that will give them a very generous discount on the TomPlay annual subscription. So I think they will like that as well.
Yes, no, and that's so, I thank you so much for offering that, and I will put my code along with the link to access. You basically get 30% off an annual subscription. So, but I'll put that information in the description, the show notes. But we're on the website right now, tomplay.com. So someone's totally new, right? They're looking at this. You have a 14-day free trial, which is great because, it's really good to test something out, make sure that it works for you. It's interesting because on this homepage, you see PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, Android, all these types of things devices that you can use this on. And even teachers in schools, I see that up on top because you do have, can you just talk even for a second? I forgot about this. Music teachers in schools, how they're using TomPlay and what kind of, packages that they have available to them.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, we have a teachers in schools section here, and teachers and schools, they use TomPlay as a tool, also as a teaching tool. So we always make sure that nobody thinks that TomPlay is a teaching method. It's not. It's a tool. It's a tool of interactive sheet music, and it never replaces the teacher. So it's just important to make that clear, because there are so many apps out there that are trying to replace the teacher because they're kind of teaching someone to play an instrument. We're never going to go down that direction because we think that a teacher is vitally important to learn an instrument. And the TomPlay app, we actually have thousands of teachers using the TomPlay app as part of their instrument lessons, because it helps the teacher as well to organize the lessons, to organize the scores, to adjust kind of the different arrangement as we saw previously. So we even have music schools with hundreds of students, and they all have the TomPlay app, and they've completely gone away from paper scores because of kind of what we discussed previously. It's just so handy to have everything in one place and to be able to assign homework and to able to record yourself. Students and teachers can exchange sound recordings and annotations. So some teachers only use TomPlay for their teaching, and some teachers use TomPlay along with paper scores and method books.
This is great. I have another question that I just thought of too. Okay. And also for teachers, it's tomplay.com /teachers. So that's going to be super important as well. And I'll put that link also in the show notes, even though you can access it from the main site. I'm curious, what about people with special needs? Like, for example, I have some students that are actually dyslexic. I don't know, I can see how the cursor can help them, but are there ways to make the score bigger? Are there, you have like letter names within the chords. Do you have something where there's letter names within the notes, or that's not going to necessarily help a dyslexic person, but, some people may have vision disabilities or something like that? Or have there been requests for that, for, accommodating that?
Yes, we had a request last week from someone who's visually impaired, and so luckily the browser version of TomPlay allows, because there's certain browsers, I think it's Microsoft Edge and Firefox, if I'm not mistaken, that kind of read everything out that's on the page. So for someone who's not really able to read what's on the website or see where they're clicking, the browser will just kind of read it all out. And so it makes it really easy to navigate. And there's a web app as well. So you can access all of the TomPlay scores and all of the backing tracks from the TomPlay website as well, in addition to using it via the app. So I guess we try to make this as multi-platform as possible to kind of cater for all different preferences and needs. And so, yes, in terms of if someone is dyslexic, so I think the visual instrument will really help. The one we looked at earlier with showing the saxophone with the fingerings, because if you don't exactly know how to read notes yet, that might help. But also if you want to, for example, just add an annotation. So if I just save a version here, so we have a text feature, okay, where so if, for example, if you have a hard time reading notes, and sometimes for me as well, if it goes beyond like high C sharp, I'm like, okay, this is C, D, E, F, and so you could just take the text tool and write something like F or F sharp in here, and then place it wherever you want to have this. So nice. This is just it's just helping, and you can just make that score look like you want to have it. So for example, you can also have crescendos and decrescendos. You can just drag them.
Oh, that's great.
into the score. You can do phrasing.
You also have the Roman numeral for chords.
Yes, this exactly. Is great. You can do like staccatos, and we try to put as much in here. Yeah, there's lots. You can even build your own notes. So if you want to just add a note or change a note, or you can basically customize this score however you want to have it. You can even erase notes by choosing the draw feature and going on white as a color, and then you can just draw on the notes and basically erase some notes that are on here. It's yours. It's our arrangement, but if you want to make it your own, feel free. You can just completely make it your own.
Okay, and I have one more suggestion too. I was just thinking about this. I know, with Finale notation program and probably Sibelius, there's ways to color code the notes. So I'm looking at your highlighter. I'm just thinking to myself, if people set for themselves, for example, okay, E in the staff is always going to be this color. F is going to always be this color. I'm wondering if, we can have there's the precision of highlighting each note, so that the person, if they are visually impaired, they'll be able to see these different colors, and that can help them read it as well. It's just the rhythms that they're going to have to keep listening to the arrangement, to hear it, to feel it, and then be able to read the rhythms from there, or feel the rhythms.
That's a very good idea. So yes, so I'm just in our highlight feature in the highlight tool, and you see here, there's a way to reduce the kind of the width, or like the size of the pen. So I can just, for example, take the green color to mark all of the high E's. Let me just see if it does it. Oh yeah, now I can. So for example, E's always look like this. Here's another E. So I could just go through the notes, and then, for example, a C is always a different color. So let me just see, here's a C. So it could be, I mean, as much or as little highlighting as you want, but yes, you could just give each note a different color. And
yeah, that would
exactly what you just described. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking this would be great for teachers can help certain students who, again, are having difficulty. Like I've taught people that are dyslexic, so their ears are incredible, but they have to read. And so, for school situations or just in general, but if you're able to color code the notes, and then they could start seeing, like they could have their own system of, the colors that will help them. And you just have your little system for that. And then you color code the sheet music. And then over time, they may be able to associate that position without having the color code there. So it would be a way to transition them, from looking like, like black dots on a page that it's just too confusing to, being able to see colors and associate with certain positions on a staff. I think that would really be a great advantage. The student the teacher probably needs to do it for the student at first. And then if you're self-taught, you'd have to just take the time at first just to do this. And it looks like you've got a plus button on the bottom of the screen, so you could can you make the screen? Yes. We're at 100% right now. Got it. Okay. So
but we can actually show even more of the screen by hiding the toolbar on the top, and by kind of going full screen. So you can just make the screen bigger. Or if you want to see more scores, then you decrease the zoom. So that's how I usually kind of make sure that I kind of see as much as possible of the score on the screen.
This is great, actually, and I have to write a note to myself because I do have a couple of subscribers that do have visual impairments. So this will be great for me to tell them about this for sure. This is outstanding. So we talked about how to access TomPlay, that there's a 14-day free trial, and there's limited time promotion offering that's going to be coming up. For sure. But with my code, which I think is Donna 30, although I have a special link that you would access, anybody that listens, that's a subscriber to Donna Schwartz Music, or even the Everything Saxophone podcast, for that matter, can look in the show notes for that code. And there's a special promotion offer for you as well.
Great. Yes, absolutely. It was. Is there anything else you want to know about TomPlay?
No, this was really, really inclusive. I did my own review as well. And what I'm going to write myself a note for is I'll just put a link in the description as well. I did my own review, but this was more exhaustive because also when I did my review, it was a number of months ago. And so now there's more features that were added, and there were other things that I wasn't even aware of, and especially having this conversation too, where we looked at, ways to help adapt this for people, with some special needs. I think that this is just a home run. I think this is really great. It's adaptable for everybody. And you answered some questions also with regard to, how to use this as a playlist, and also some of the great stuff coming up in terms of, being able to record video as well. I think this is really great. It's a great, as you said, it's a great tool. It's not going to replace people, and we don't want to think of this as replacing band members. That's not the case. A lot of times people want to play for their families. I have a lot of students that do that. And so they'll pull out the TomPlay app and they'll play for their families. And it's really nice, So I think this is a really, really great tool. And I'd love to see how it evolved, because like I mentioned before, I was being totally frank, I wouldn't have gotten this app because to me, it was just all reading. And I'm thinking to myself, pop music, you have to hear it first because it's very hard to notate everything that's going on. So you've got to hear it first. But you've got that ability now with Tom Improv where, well, even before that, you could still hear everything. You could hear the lead line, you could hear the lead vocal or the lead instrument. And then you could see, once you hear it a number of times, if you want to figure it out by ear, you could do it the old style way without the improv. You could certainly do it like that. And just listen and try to pick it out by ear. But then you have a way of checking. And that gives people assurance that they're getting it right and they're making progress. And now with the Tom Improv part, people can create their own arrangements. Maybe they don't want to play the melody the entire time. Maybe they'll play the melody for the first verse, the chorus, and then the next verse, they'll improvise over it. So you have that flexibility. I think that's really, great. I don't want to say progress, but, a lot of additional things that since my last review that have definitely happened. I think it's great.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's lovely to hear. I know our team is trying super hard to improve TomPlay, every single week, every single month. We just try to make it the best tool for musicians possible.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Julia, thank you so much for taking the time, being here. It was great to get to meet you. And it was great to also, I'm so glad that you shared your screen and you showed us all the things that TomPlay can do. I'm sure there's some we even missed, but
probably.
But you probably did, because it seems like there's just so much. And just the fact that you're adding over 200 scores per week, that's incredible. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, I'm exhausted thinking about that, the amount of work that goes into that. And I'm really glad that, you guys were able to adapt during the pandemic. And you found, sometimes during our worst crises, we find an adaptation that actually makes things better for people. And that's what happened here. Your musicians that you hire are recording from home, and now you're able to supply multi-tracks. That people can isolate out or hone in on or whatever. Kudos to you guys. Really, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Donna. Thank you so much for having me as well. It was absolutely a pleasure to be a guest of your podcast. Very, very, very appreciated. Thank you so much.